You've been drinking fruit smoothies wrong your whole life. Not the recipe, the story. Because that pink drink in your fridge right now has a history so strange, so accidental, and so much messier than you think that once you hear it, you will never look at a blender the same way again. Stick with me for the next few minutes. I promise you this is not what you expect. Let's start with a question. Where do you think the smoothie was invented? Health food store? Yoga retreat? Some wellness guru in California in the 70s? Close. But not even close to the real beginning. The real beginning starts thousands of years before blenders even existed. Before electricity, before glass jars, before anyone even had a word for smoothie. It starts with a problem. A very human problem. Fruit spoils fast, and for most of history, if you had a basket of ripe mangoes or bananas or berries, you had maybe 2 or 3 days before they turned to mush. So people got clever. They started smashing fruit by hand, mixing it with water, milk, sometimes honey, just to stretch out the life of what they had. In ancient civilizations across Central and South America, people were mashing fruit into thick drinks long before anyone in Europe had ever tasted a banana. In parts of Africa and Asia, similar drinks existed too, made with mangoes, tamarind, coconut milk. These weren't smoothies exactly, but they were the ancestors. The great-great-grandparents of what you're sipping through a straw today. Here's the twist, though. None of that history is why we call it a smoothie today. The real story, the one that actually built the drink, starts somewhere you'd never guess. A soda fountain. Yes. A soda fountain. Picture the 1930s. America is in the middle of the Great Depression. Money is tight. But drugstores across the country have these soda fountains, these bright, buzzing counters where people go for a treat they can actually afford. Milkshakes, malts, fruit punches. It's one of the few luxuries people allow themselves. And it's at these counters, somewhere between the ice cream scoops and the syrup pumps, that someone starts blending fruit with ice and milk into a smooth, cold drink. Not a milkshake, something lighter. Something that felt almost like drinking dessert and medicine at the same time. But here's what you need to understand. This drink didn't have a name yet. It didn't have a shape. It didn't have an identity. It was just an experiment, a happy accident happening in kitchens and drugstores at the same time, in different corners of the country, with nobody knowing they were about to invent something that would eventually take over the entire health food industry. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Fast forward a few decades, and something happens that changes everything. A machine. In 1922, a man named Stephen Poplawski invents something you have probably never heard of, but definitely have in your kitchen right now in some form. He invents the first blender, not for smoothies, not even for fruit. He invents it to make malted milkshakes faster at soda fountains. Think about that for a second. The machine that makes your morning smoothie possible was invented to make milkshakes, not health food. Milkshakes, the exact opposite of what we now consider a smoothie to represent. But then, a man named Fred Waring gets involved. And this is where the story takes a turn nobody expects. Fred Waring wasn't a chef. He wasn't a nutritionist. He was a big band leader, a musician. The kind of guy who performed on stage,
Good evening,
not
everyone.
in a kitchen.
We are broadcasting live. Let's play. A 1, a 2.
But Fred had a friend, an inventor, who showed him an early blender design. Fred got obsessed. He funded it. He improved it. And in 1937, he released it to the public under a name you have absolutely heard before, the Waring blender. A musician gave us the blender. Let that sink in for a second. Without a big band leader chasing a hobby that had nothing to do with food, that machine sitting on your counter right now might not exist in the same form. But even with the blender now available, smoothies still weren't really smoothies yet. They were still milkshakes, malts, fruit punches. The health movement hadn't caught up. People weren't thinking about nutrition. They were thinking about flavor and fun. So how did we go from milkshake machine to health drink? This is where it gets even stranger. Jump ahead to the 1960s and 1970s. California, the birthplace of health food culture in America. Suddenly there's a wave of people rejecting processed food, rejecting sugar, rejecting the fast food boom that's sweeping the country. They want something clean, something natural, something that feels like it's actually doing something good for the body. And that's when a new kind of business starts popping up. Juice bars. These aren't your average drugstore counters anymore. These are health food shops run by people who genuinely believe fruit and vegetables can heal you. They start blending fresh fruit with juice, yogurt, sometimes protein powder, sometimes wheatgrass, sometimes things that honestly sound a little questionable by today's standards. But the intention was clear. Make something that tastes good and actually helps your body. And it's here, in these small health food shops, that the word smoothie finally starts to stick. Not milkshake, not malt. Smoothie, a name that captures exactly what the drink feels like going down. Smooth, simple, honest. But here's the twist that most people don't know. The smoothie almost didn't survive the 80s. Why? Because the 80s were obsessed with a different kind of health trend. Low-fat everything, diet food, artificial sweeteners. Smoothies, with their natural sugar from fruit, actually fell a little out of favor. People were scared of sugar, even the kind that comes from a banana or a mango. Health food shifted toward diet shakes, powders, artificial replacements. The smoothie could have died right there. A forgotten trend from the 70s, a relic. But then something happens in the 90s that brings it roaring back. And this part of the story is honestly one of the most American business stories you'll ever hear. Smoothie chains. Jamba Juice opens its doors in 1990, not in some quiet health food town, but in California, right where the smoothie culture had already been simmering for 2 decades. And this time, it's not just health nuts walking in, it's everyone. College students, office workers, parents grabbing something quick for their kids. Suddenly, the smoothie isn't a fringe health drink anymore. It's mainstream, it's cool, it's the thing you get on a hot afternoon instead of a soda. And this is the moment the smoothie officially becomes what you know today. Not a medicine, not a diet trend, a lifestyle drink. Something you associate with energy, with freshness, with taking care of yourself without giving up flavor. Now, here's something that might genuinely surprise you. The smoothie you drink today is actually pretty different from what people were drinking even 20 years ago. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, smoothies were sugar bombs. Big cups loaded with juice concentrate, sherbet, sometimes even ice cream. People thought they were being healthy because it had fruit in it. But a large smoothie from a chain back then could have more sugar than a candy bar. Nobody was reading labels closely. Nobody was thinking about it that hard. It was fruit. Fruit is healthy, right? But then research started catching up. Nutritionists started speaking up. People started asking harder questions. Is a smoothie actually healthy? Or does blending fruit into liquid form spike your blood sugar faster than eating the fruit whole? Turns out, That question matters more than most people realize. When you blend fruit, you break down the fiber structure. And fiber is what slows down how fast sugar hits your bloodstream. So a smoothie can hit you differently than eating the same fruit with a fork. This is exactly why the smoothie world changed again. Enter the green smoothie, spinach, kale, cucumber, blended with just enough fruit to make it drinkable. Suddenly the goal wasn't sweetness anymore. It was nutrients. It was balance. It was getting vegetables into people who would never eat a salad but would absolutely drink a smoothie. And then came protein smoothies, post-workout smoothies, meal replacement smoothies. The drink kept evolving, kept adapting, kept finding new reasons to stay relevant in your life. Which brings us to today. And here's the real question you should be asking yourself right now. What is actually in the smoothie you drink? Because here's a hard truth. Not every smoothie is created equal. A smoothie loaded with fruit juice, concentrate, sherbet, and syrup is basically a milkshake wearing a fruit costume. But a smoothie built with whole fruit, a source of protein, healthy fat like nut butter or avocado, and maybe some greens. That's a completely different drink. Same word. Completely different result for your body. So if you're someone who drinks smoothies regularly and you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s, here's something worth thinking about. Your body handles sugar differently than it did when you were 20. Blood sugar spikes hit harder. Energy crashes come faster. And that healthy smoothie you're drinking could actually be working against you if it's mostly fruit and juice with nothing to slow down the sugar. Here's a simple fix, and this is something you can start doing tomorrow morning. Add a source of fat or protein to every smoothie you make. A spoon of nut butter, a scoop of protein powder, half an avocado, Greek yogurt instead of juice as your base. This one change slows down how fast the sugar hits your blood, keeps you fuller longer, and turns your smoothie from a sugar rush into an actual meal that supports your energy instead of stealing it from you 2 hours later. And here's something most people never think about. The order you blend your ingredients actually matters. Liquid first, then soft ingredients like yogurt or banana, then harder ingredients like frozen fruit or ice last. This isn't some fancy chef trick. It's just physics. It keeps your blender blades from struggling, gives you a smoother texture, and means you're not standing there for 5 minutes fighting with chunks of frozen strawberry stuck at the bottom. Now, let's talk about something a little controversial, because I did promise you this story had some edges to it. A lot of the healthy smoothies sold at big chains today are not what they claim to be. Some of them have more added sugar than a can of soda. Some use fruit juice concentrate instead of real fruit, which spikes sugar even faster with almost none of the fiber benefit. The marketing says natural. The marketing says energy. But if you actually looked at the nutrition label, you might put that cup down before your next sip. This isn't me telling you to stop drinking smoothies. Not at all. This is me telling you to become the kind of person who checks, who asks, who doesn't just trust the pretty cup and the word fresh printed on the side. Because here's the beautiful part of this whole story. The smoothie started as a way to save fruit from going bad. It became a soda fountain experiment. It got picked up by a musician who just wanted a better milkshake machine. It got adopted by health food shops trying to heal people naturally. It nearly died in the 80s. It got resurrected by smoothie chains in the 90s. And now, in your hands, today, it's become something personal, something you can actually control. You get to decide what your smoothie means. You get to decide if it's a sugar bomb disguised as health food, or if it's a real tool that gives you energy, supports your body, and actually makes you feel good 2 hours later. instead of leaving you crashing at your desk. That's the real lesson hiding inside this whole strange history. Every good thing starts messy. Started as an accident, shaped by random people who had no idea what they were building. A drugstore experiment, a big band leader with a hobby, health food shops trying something new. None of them set out to create the smoothie you drink today. It evolved because people kept adjusting, kept improving, kept asking better questions. And that's exactly what you can do with your own smoothie, starting with the very next one you make. So here's what I want you to do. Next time you make a smoothie or order one, actually look at what's in it. Ask if there's real fruit or just juice concentrate. Ask if there's something in it to slow down the sugar. Make one small change, just one, based on everything you just learned. That's it. That's the whole ask. If this story changed the way you see that cup in your hand, do me a favor and let me know in the comments. Tell me what smoothie you're making differently starting today. And if you want to go even deeper into the surprising history behind the foods you eat every single day, the next video is waiting for you. And trust me, this one is not the strangest story I've got. I'll see you in the next one.